Today, I am here to present the final budget report. The budget that I was given was $92,000, but the total of the wish list was $194,921.01. So I needed to cut $102,921.01 in order to meet the $92,000 budget given. The first sport that I'm going to talk about is baseball. Baseball's original budget was $21,521.99, and I was able to cut it down to $19,313.90. The first cut that I made was baseballs, and I gave the baseball team 3 sets instead of 4 sets, which saved $148.03. We needed to cut costs with the purchase of the scoreboard, and if they need more baseballs throughout the season, they can fundraise to get those. I didn't cut any of the bases because bases need to be replaced fairly often to prevent injury and to be seen by the players, the coaches, the umpires, and the spectators. I cut one of their bats from the budget, which saved $300.04 because players usually have their own bats, so not as many are needed. I cut the bat bag out completely because since there are very few bats, they can be stored in the backpack of the player that's using the bat, and this saved $56. I cut 2 of the fungos that the baseball team asked for because there will rarely, if ever, be a time where more than 2 fungos are needed at a time, at least in my experience of watching baseball, and this saved $60.02. I didn't cut any of the game balls because baseball uses and loses a lot of balls throughout the season, so they need as many as possible, especially game balls because those are required by the AAA. I didn't cut any of the coaching gear either because all coaches need to wear the same thing so that they look unified and professional. I did cut some of the hats, and I ended up giving them 40 hats because they really only need 1 set of hats, and there's rarely ever more than 40 baseball players on a team. And if they want to fundraise to have more sets or colors of hats, they can do that, as money again was just needed for the scoreboard. I didn't cut any of the helmets because helmets are needed in order to protect the batter and players on the bases. I allowed 2 extra for those who are next in line to be ready. I did cut the jackets because players can fundraise for jackets as they are not a necessity and money was again just needed for the scoreboard. I gave the baseball team the scoreboard, which was needed to be replaced because the old scoreboard was broken and in need of repairs. And then lastly, I did take away their tees because high school baseball players will rarely use a tee, and if one is needed, it can be purchased through a fundraiser. So overall, we saved $2,208.09 with the cuts, and again, that came out to the baseball team's budget being $19,313.90. The next sport is boys basketball, and their original cost was $9,206.36, and I was able to get the cost down to $6,312.44. I did not cut their ball cage out of the budget because it's needed to store basketballs, and it's a great way to keep everything in place so that you don't lose any of your equipment. I also didn't cut any of their basketballs because they're needed to play the game, and having 25 basketballs will allow for all players on the team to have one, and for there to be enough during practices, for drills, and just during games to have extras lying around. I didn't cut the defense pad because it's going to aid in safety and also while everyone's learning the sport if they're new. And I did not cut any of the uniforms because they are needed to look unified and play the game of basketball in the school league. I did cut the Gatorade bottles and the Gatorade carriers because they're really unnecessary as players will usually have their own water bottle, so there's no need to have a carrier if you don't have any bottles to carry around. I also cut the Gatorade towel because players will usually have their own towels, and this prevents someone from using a towel that has another player's sweat on it, which is just unsanitary. I did not cut the practice jerseys and shorts because they're needed to form teams during practice and distinguish team members during drills. I did cut shoes because players will usually have their own shoes and will prefer one brand over another, so they'll have a personal preference with that. I did unfortunately have to cut the shooting machine because we gave baseball the scoreboard, and it would be nice to have, but other items are going to take priority as they are needs in order to play the sport, and this is just a want. I did not cut the travel gear because basketball is one of the sports that I've noticed does wear travel gear wherever they go. And it's also played in the colder months, and this is going to allow for the team to remain warm during travel and be easily recognized in public places. So, overall, after the cuts, we were able to save $2,893.92, making the new cost for the basketball team $6,312.44. Girls basketball is the next sport on the list, and their original cost was $4,767.49, and I was able to get their cost down to $4,623.20. So, the first off, I didn't cut any of the game balls because they are needed in order to compete during a season within school conferences. And I also did not cut Huddle because I think it's going to be a great asset to the team as it will aid in recording statistics and tracking game scores and film. I did cut the mop from the budget because the janitor will have a mop that can be used in the gym. And although it would be nice if the basketball team could help them out with that, it's simply just not in the budget at this time. I didn't cut any of the scorebooks because they can fill up quickly in basketball, and this will allow for there to be enough when they become full, but also have extras in case something is lost. I did cut shooting shirts because while it's nice to have, they're not needed as players can warm up in their jerseys or their practice gear. And I didn't cut any of the uniforms because they are needed to look unified and play the game of basketball in a school league. But I did cut half of the whistles, which saved $35.04 because I just don't feel like there's a need for 10 whistles. Having 5 whistles allows for all coaches to have one and for there to be extras if one breaks or is broken. So overall, I was able to save $144.29 for the girls basketball team, making the new cost $4,623.20. Cheerleading is the next sport that we will cover, and their original cost was $2,157.25, and I was able to get their cost down to $1,758. The first thing that I cut from cheerleading was instead of 4 hours for the dance consultant, I cut it down to 2 because the cheer coach should have enough experience to not require this consultant because cheer is not as dance heavy as the dance team would be. So this ended up saving $100. The next thing that I cut was the motion flex gloves. And if players are ever at a game where it's too cold, they will have their own gloves if they're needed. So this saved $299.25. The rest of the items on the list that I kept I felt were important to the cheer squad. Number one being the music mix, as it's needed for routines, but that also helps the team to stay within copyright laws. I did not cut the pom-poms because they're necessary to perform routines and rally the crowd. And I also kept the stunt consultant because they are necessary to learn new stunts for the team and to be able to perform them safely. I kept the warm-up jackets and the warm-up pants because they will allow for the cheerleaders to still look uniform during the cold months that they are cheering. So overall, we saved $399.25 on the cheer squad, which again made the new cost $1,758. Boys Cross Country originally cost $3,196.39, and I was able to get the new cost down to $1,957.50. I did keep the backpacks for the cross country team because they will allow for players to keep equipment in one place and to still look uniform. However, I did cut the field paint, flagpoles, measuring kit, and pistol kit because these should be provided in the cross country kit that I kept later on in the document. I did not cut shorts because they are needed to look unified and run cross country in a school league, but I did cut the tent, which saved $899 because while it would be nice to have, it's not necessary to the sport. And they can fundraise or talk to the booster club if that's something they would like. I didn't cut the tops because, again, they are needed to look unified and run cross country in a school league. And I also kept the cross country kit because after reading over it, it had a lot of things that were really necessary to cross country and will help me to run smoothly and provide the necessary materials that are needed for the sport. I also kept the weather rider because this will allow for statistics to be kept in any kind of weather element because just because it's raining or possibly snowing, the cross country meet isn't canceled unless it's a danger to the runners. So with those cuts, I was able to save $1,238.89, which made the cost $1,957.50. I looked at girls cross country next, and their original cost was $2,464.58, and I was able to get their new cost down to $1,399.65. I kept all of the backpacks that they ordered because they will allow for players to keep equipment in one place and look uniform. And I also kept their jackets because they seem to have a smaller budget than the boys team did, and so they can wear the jackets and look uniform during cold months. I did cut their pants because cross country is not usually run in months that are exceedingly cold, at least where I live. Because it is a sport that begins in August, it doesn't usually get cold here until late November. So with that, I was able to save $314.93. I did keep the shorts because they are needed to look unified and to run cross country in a school league. But I did cancel the timing service just because while it would be nice to have, time can be kept by volunteers that will be present at the race. And lastly, I kept the tops because they are needed to look unified and run cross country in a school league. So overall, with girls cross country, we were able to save $1,064.93, which brought the new budget to $1,399.65. Dance was the next sport on the list, and their original budget was $4,891.92, and I was able to bring their new budget down to $3,844.36. The first item that I kept was their backpacks because this will allow for the players to keep their equipment in one place and look uniform. But I did cut their jazz costumes, which saved $600 because one uniform I feel is plenty for a high school team, and if more uniforms are wanted, they can fundraise for them. I kept their jazz leotards as this is something they will practice in, and it will allow for the dancers to look uniform during practice and know what the routine will look and feel like in uniform. I also cut their jazz shorts for practice as it will allow for dancers to, again, just look uniform and know what the routine will look and feel like when they are performing it. I also kept the music because it's needed for routines but also to stay within the copyright laws. I did cut tights, which saved $247.56 because dancers will usually have their own tights, and reusing tights from a previous year could potentially become unsanitary and just gross. I cut their purple pom-poms because I feel only one set of pom-poms is really needed for a high school team so long as they match the uniform, and I did keep the white poms later in the sheet. The next thing that I kept was their uniform, which is purple and black, as it is needed to look unified and dance in a school league. I also kept their warm-up jacket and warm-up pants as it will allow dancers to look uniform during cold months, and I kept their white boots because they are needed to complete the uniform and show team unity. And lastly, their pom-poms were kept because they allow the dancers to complete their routines and to rally the crowd. Overall, the dance team saved $1,047.56 with these cuts, which brought the new budget to $3,844.36. I looked at field hockey next, and it was a rather large budget coming in at $13,154.98. However, I was able to get the new budget down to $4,899.49. The first thing that I kept for the field hockey team was their equipment bag, as it will allow for players to keep equipment in one place and look uniform. The next thing that I kept was their game balls because they're needed in order to compete during a season within school conferences. I did cut their goals because goals are not needed every season, and after making it through the season, we can reassess this and see whether or not they need to be bought the next year. So this saved $2,799.99. I did keep goalie helmets because they will be needed for safety and participation in field hockey as a goalie, and they can be provided by the school to ensure proper safety protocol. I did cut the goalie hockey stick because each goalie will prefer a particular type of stick, so there's no need for the school to purchase, and this saved $149.85. I did keep the goalie jerseys as they are needed to compete during a season within school conferences. I did cut the goalie protection gear, which was $999.90, because each goalie will be different in size, and by not providing protection gear, they will be able to find what fits them and protects them the most. I did cut goggles, which was $999.75 because each player is going to be a different size, and by not providing goggles, they will be able to find the pair that fits them best. I also didn't provide field hockey sticks because each player will prefer a different type of stick or a different brand or style, so there's no need for the school to purchase these sticks. So we saved $2,875 here. And lastly, I did not provide shin guards because each player, again, just will be a different side, and by not providing them, they will be able to find a pair that fits them best and protects what's necessary. I did keep the uniforms because they are needed to look unified and to play the game of field hockey in a school league. So overall, we saved $8,255.49, bringing the new total for field hockey to $4,899.49. Football's original cost was $7,713.96, and I was able to get their new cost down to $3,856.98. I did cut some from everything that they asked for, but I believe that it was necessary to stay within budget. I cut the football girdles down from 100 to 50 because most players will already have a football girdle or will prefer a certain brand or over another. And football girdles are something that need to be purchased by the athlete for sanitary and for also fit purposes. However, I understand that some people just will not be able to purchase these. So by only purchasing 50 instead of 100, we were able to save $1,097.50. I also cut the amount of receiver gloves down from 80 to 40 because, again, most players are already going to have these gloves or will prefer a certain brand over another. And there's something that need to be purchased by the athlete so that they can get the right fit and the right need for their position. By cutting the gloves down from 80 to 40, I was able to save $1,399.60. I also cut the amount of pop-up dummies in half because while it would be nice to have more than 2 pop-up dummies, with the purchase of the tackle wheels later on in the sheet, half of the amount needed to be cut to stay within a reasonable budget. And with the tackle wheels, I also cut half of those down, so we only will be purchasing 2. And again, while it would be nice to have more than 2, when I'm purchasing the pop-up dummies as well, half of the amount needed to be cut to stay within budget. So overall, we were able to save $3,856.98, which brought the budget down to $3,856.98. Boys golf started out with $3,740.32 as a budget, and I was able to bring that down to $2,799.01. I did keep the golf bags that the golf team asked for because it will allow for players to keep their equipment in one place and to look uniform. However, I did cut the amount of golf balls down from 13 to 7, which saved $263.94. By cutting the amount of golf balls bought for the boys team, this allows for money to be spent on uniforms and team unity. And some players will prefer a certain type of golf ball over another, and they can purchase that themselves. I did keep the polos because they are needed to look unified and to play the game of golf in a school league. And I kept the rain gear jackets because this will allow for players to still be uniform in harsher weather conditions. I cut the rain gear pants because while they would be helpful to players, many golfers will already have a pair of rain pants, and if the team wants to purchase the pants, they can do that through a fundraiser. And this saves $639.92. I did cut the tees down from 20 packs to 15 packs because cutting the amount of tees allows for money to be spent on the uniform and team unity, and some players will prefer a certain type of tee over another, and they can purchase that themselves. Overall, with the cuts, I was able to save $941.31, which brought the new budget down to $2,799.01. Girls Golf is the next team on the list, and their original budget was $3,007.32, and I was able to bring it down to $1,192.68. I didn't cut any of the golf balls that they asked for because the girls team did not ask for as expensive of uniform and team unity gear, and therefore golf balls can be bought. Also, the team asked for less packs of golf balls than the boys team, which would allow for the full amount to be purchased. I did cut hats from the budget because although they would be helpful to the players, many golfers already have a hat, but if the team wants to purchase team hats, they can do a fundraiser. I did keep the black and white polos because they are needed to look unified and play the game of golf in a school league. However, I did cut shoes because golfers, much like other athletes, prefer certain styles and brands of shoes. Allowing the player to purchase the shoes for themselves not only saves the program money, but allows for the player to have a shoe they are comfortable in. I did cut skorts from the budget as well because girls that have been golfing for a long time will have skorts, and there is not a need to have a team skort, as it would be easy for the girls to purchase a certain color if they do not already own one. I did keep half of the amount of skorts simply because some girls that are new to the sport won't have the right color or the right brand, and so by having half of these, you do save those girls from having to purchase one now, but they will need to purchase one later. I also kept the tees because, as with the golf balls, the girls' team asked for less tees than the boys' team, which allowed for the full amount to be bought. This will help players who forgot their own tees or if several are lost on the course. The total savings for the team was $1,814.64, which brought the new cost of the budget to $1,192.68. The lacrosse team started out with a pretty hefty budget at a little over $13,000, and I was able to cut the budget down to just a little over $6,000. Arm pads were the first thing that I looked to cut from the list, and I cut one of those out, as lacrosse players will already have arm pads, and if they don't, they can be purchased by the players. I kept 2 arm pads just because there will be players who may not be able to afford the equipment. The next thing that I cut was chest pads, and I cut one of those as well. Again, lacrosse players will already have a chest pad, and if they don't, they can be purchased by the players or requested from the booster club. 2 chest pads will be purchased for the players that cannot afford the equipment. I kept all of the game balls that they asked for because they are going to be needed in order to compete during a season within school conferences. I also cut gloves because lacrosse players will already have gloves, and if they don't, they can be purchased by the players or requested from the booster club. I cut one of the goals out because goals are not needed every season, and after making it through this season, they can be reassessed as to whether another one needs to be bought. I cut one of the goalie helmets out, as it is unlikely you will ever need more than 2 goalie helmets, as one goalie will be in the game and the other will be on the bench. However, if there's a need for more than 2 helmets, they can be purchased by the players or money can be raised through a fundraiser. I cut out goalie pants and goalie shins, just one of those as well, again for the same reasoning as the helmet, as there's really only ever going to be 2 goalies that will need to have the gear on at a time, and if they need more, they can be purchased through a fundraiser or by requesting it through the booster club. I cut goggles as well because each player is going to be a different size, and by not providing goggles, you'll be able to find a pair that fits them better. I did keep the ball bag because they are needed to store practice and game balls, and I kept the lining kit because it's going to be needed in order to prepare the field for play. The next team that I kept for lacrosse was the possession indicator because it will help the teams and officials be aware of who has possession and to cut down on confusion, and also to inform the fans of what's going on in the game currently. I did cut the shot doctor because lacrosse players will already have one, and if they don't, they can be purchased by the players or requested from the booster club. I cut 20 of the sticks out because each player is going to prefer a different type of stick, so there's no need for the school to purchase one for the whole team. I will purchase 10 generic sticks just so that those that cannot afford the equipment will have one. I also cut out one of the throat protectors because lacrosse players will already have one, and if they don't, they can be purchased or requested. And 2 throat protectors are going to be kept so that those that cannot afford equipment will have one. I kept the training balls because they're needed for the practice of game of lacrosse amongst the entire team, and I kept the uniforms because they are needed to look unified and play the game of lacrosse in a school league. So the total savings of this was $6,987.09, which brought the new cost to $6,034.06. Boys soccer is next on the list, and I kept the coaching verification because they are required of coaches to be certified to coach in the AAA. I did cut corner flags because they don't need to be bought every year, and the flags can be reassessed at the end of the season to see if they need to be replaced. I also cut the gazebo because while a gazebo would be nice, it's not necessary to the game of soccer. If a gazebo is wanted, it can be requested through the booster club or money can be raised through a fundraiser. I cut one of the hurdle packs out because with a soccer team only totaling around 20 players usually, 2 sets of hurdles will be fine when running practice. I cut the quick ladders out completely because after purchasing the hurdles, there was no room in the budget for the ladders. If the ladders are wanted, they can be requested through the booster club or a fundraiser can be held. I cut out the senior banners completely because although the senior banner does allow for the recognition of graduating players, it is not necessary to the sport. And if the banners are wanted, they can be requested through the Booster Club, or a fundraiser can be held, or even donation by a parent. I did cut out one of the packs of soccer balls because with a soccer team only totaling around 20 players usually, one set of soccer balls will be plenty for practice, as balls do not need to be replaced every year. I did cut some of the training bids down from 30 to 24 because, again, with soccer player teams only totaling around 20 players, one set of training bibs is going to be plenty for practice. And I also cut the pack of training discs down from 5 to 4 because, again, with the number of players, 4 packs will be effective for practice while cutting down the cost of the budget. I did keep all of the uniforms because they are needed to look unified and play the game of soccer in a school league, and there will be varying sizes over the years. So total savings for the boys soccer team was $1,043.64, which brought the new cost of the budget down from $3,815.98 to $2,772.34. Girls soccer was a budget I really had to pay close attention to because it totaled over $19,000. The first thing that I kept for the girls soccer team was the backpacks because they will allow for players to keep equipment in one place and look uniform. I did cut one of the ball bags because with the amount of balls that are going to be needed for a program, 2 bags for the balls would be enough while also allowing for the program to save money. For both the coaching jacket and the coaching pants, in most high school programs there's only going to be 2 coaches, and if there is a third, it's usually a volunteer coach and they are required to buy their own gear. So 2 coaching jackets and 2 coaching pants would be enough to cover the coaching staff. For the coaching tees, with training tees being bought, there's not a need for another t-shirt to be bought with the athletic budget, so extra tees can be fundraised for or requested through the Booster Club, but they are not going to be in this budget. For the coaching training shorts and the coaching training tees, again, going back to the jacket and pants, in most high school programs, there's only going to be 2 coaches, and the volunteer coach is going to buy the gear for themselves. So just purchasing 2 of these items is going to cover the paid coaching staff. I cut the coach travel hoodie and the coach jacket completely because most high schools don't have travel gear, especially for the coaches. And if the coaches want hoodies, they can be bought through a fundraiser or requested through the Booster Club. For the coaching travel polo, I cut it down from 3 to 2, again for the reasoning mentioned earlier, as there are only 2 paid coaches on the staff, and anybody else that is after that will need to buy their own gear. I cut the coaching travel plans because most high school soccer programs don't have travel gear, especially for the coaches. So if they would like these, they are more than welcome to fundraise or request them through the Booster Club, but they will not be in the budget. I cut the game day polo because most high schools don't have game day polos for their soccer teams, and if the coaches want the players to look uniform when traveling, they can wear the training shirts that are going to be bought later in the budget. I cut the goalkeeper gloves down from 6 to 3 because it's rare that there will be more than 3 goalies on a team, and even with that, most keepers prefer a certain type of glove. I did buy 3 gloves just in case of an emergency or if a player cannot afford the equipment. I cut out the lounge tank, lounge tights, lounge tees, and lounge hoodies because these requests seem like something that's going to be purchased for a collegiate level team. So if the players want lounge gear, it can be bought through the Booster Club or through the fundraiser, but I really don't see them being bought through the Booster Club since they're not a necessity. So this is definitely something they would need to fundraise for. I cut the match balls down from 30 to 20 because in the schools that I've worked for, most teams will play no more than 22 games a season, including the state tournament. So 20 match balls will be more than enough to make it through the season as they are provided for you at away games and during the state tournament. So the only time that you would need match balls would be at your home games. I cut the amount of training jackets, pants, shorts, and tees down to 20 because most high school soccer teams don't have over 20 players. So 20 of all of these items would be more than enough to cover the amount of players on the team while also saving money on the athletic budget. I cut the travel jackets and travel pants out completely because most high school programs don't provide travel gear for their players. And if their coaches want them to look uniform while they're traveling, they are more than welcome to wear their training gear or raise money through a fundraiser for travel gear to be worn. So originally the cost of the soccer budget for the girls was $19,421, and I was able to get that down to $5,865 for a total savings of $13,556. Softball is the next sport that I looked at, and they had a rather small budget at $2,675.79, but I was still able to make some cuts and get that down to $1,587.84. With the bats, I cut two of the ones that they asked out because softball players will normally already have a bat that they prefer, and if they don't, they can be bought by the player to ensure fit and comfortability. I did buy two bats just for players that may not be able to afford the equipment. With batting helmets, I cut that down from six to four because four batting helmets will be bought as there are only ever four people in need of them on the field at one time. When a player returns to the dugout, they can pass off their helmet to the next player that needs it. I kept all of the game day softballs because they're needed in order to compete during a season within school conferences, and softballs can sometimes be lost very easily. I did cut the pitching machine because although a pitching machine is nice to have, it is not necessary as coaches and other players can pitch the balls during practice drills. If a pitching machine is wanted, it can be bought through the fundraiser money or requested through the Booster Club. I did keep the two buckets of softballs that they asked for because they are necessary to conduct practice and work on the skills of the game. They're also easily lost, so there will need to be quite a few. So overall, I was able to save $1,087.95, which made the new cost of the softball program $1,587.84. Swimming's budget started at a little over $4,000, and I was able to get it to a little over $2,000. I did keep all of the backpacks as they will allow for swimmers to keep equipment in one place and to look uniform. And I cut all of the goggles because each swimmer will be a different size, and by not providing goggles, they will be able to find the pair that fits them best. I kept the hand paddles because they will allow for swimmers to develop technique and increase their skill in swimming. But I cut locks because locks are relatively inexpensive, and because of the high cost of the warm-up clothing, they're going to be cut from the budget and bought by the players who want to lock their belongings. I kept the megaphone because it will allow for the coach to be heard over water splashing during practice and allow for officials to conduct meets at the school efficiently. I did cut out the pace clock because although a pace clock is nice to have, it's not necessary, as the coach and officials will have a stopwatch. If a pace clock is wanted for the spectators, and it can be fundraised for or requested by the Booster Club. I also cut out safety training as through coaching certification, all coaches will have previously completed safety training, and if a refresher is needed, it can be taken at the expense of the coach or requested from the Booster Club. I cut swim caps as well because swimmers will already have a swim cap that they will prefer and that fits them well, and if they do not, it can be purchased by the swimmer. I kept the swimsuits because they will be needed to look unified and to swim in a school league. I also kept the training fins for swimming because they will allow for the swimmers to develop technique and increase their skill in swimming. And I kept the warm-up jackets and warm-up pants because swimmers will be able to stay warm in between races, therefore preventing injury. So the total savings of the swim team was $1,976.12, which made the original cost of $4,314.06 come down to $2,337.94. Boys tennis had a starting budget of $3,168.65, and I was able to bring that down to $1,061.75. I did cut the ball machine for boys tennis because they would already have a ball machine and it does not need to be replaced every year. After completion of the season, it will be reassessed as to whether or not it needs to be replaced. I also cut the canopy because while it would be nice, it's not necessary to the game of tennis. If a canopy is wanted, it can be requested through the Booster Club or money can be raised through a fundraiser. I did keep all the scorecards as it will allow for proper statistics to be kept throughout the season. I cut the amount of tennis balls down from 10 cases to 5 cases. Because of the high cost of uniforms, cost is going to be needed to cut somewhere within the budget. So long as the players and coaches are diligent in retrieving the tennis balls, 5 cases should be enough for the season, and if more needed, they can be requested from the Booster Club. I kept the tennis ball cart as it will help keep track of all the tennis balls and allow for easy transportation to and from the courts. And I kept uniforms as they are needed to look unified and to play tennis in a school league. Girls tennis had a very small budget, coming in at $836.80, but I was still able to cut half, coming in at a new cost of $458.80. I cut the club cart from their budget because the tennis team already has a club cart and they do not need to be replaced every year. At the conclusion of the season, it will be reassessed as to whether or not it needs to be replaced. I did keep all the tennis balls as they are necessary to conduct practice and games and work on the skills of the game. They're easily lost, so there will need to be quite a few. I cut the toss machine because tennis would already have a toss machine and it does not need to be replaced every year. After completion of the season, it can be reassessed as to whether or not it needs to be replaced. And then I kept uniforms because they are needed to look unified and to play tennis in a school league. Boys track is next, and I kept all of their batons and their discuses as they are necessary for the practice of certain events and competing on meet days. I cut their hurdles in half because hurdles don't need to be replaced every year, and with the purchase of 5 hurdles, you'll be able to replace the worn down hurdles and then reassess at the completion of the season to see if others need replacement. I kept all of their iron shots as they are necessary for practice of certain events and competing on meet days, but I did cut their pole vault package as the track team already has a pole vault package and it does not need to be purchased every year. At the conclusion of the season, the pole vault will be reassessed to see if it is time to replace. I kept the starting blocks as they are necessary for the practice of certain events and competing on meet days, but I cut the amount of stopwatches in half as during practices and meets there really is never a time where more than 5 events are going on. The officials in other schools will have their own stopwatches, so 5 should be enough for the team. I did keep the uniforms as well because they are needed to look unified and to run track in a school league. I also cut the vaulting pole from the budget because the track team already has one and it does not need to be purchased every year. At the conclusion of the season, it will be reassessed to see if it's time to replace. After totaling all of the budget cuts together, it totaled $18,558.85, which made the original cost of $21,930.85 come down to $3,372 even. Girls track is next, and I cut their batons because they've been sharing with the middle school team for quite some time, and they can continue this until there is enough money in the budget to purchase batons, or they can be bought with fundraiser money or requested from the Booster Club. I kept all their discuses because they are necessary for the practice of certain events and competing on meet days. I also cut the hurdle cart because while it is convenient, it is possible to carry the hurdles to and from the storage area. If a hurdle cart is wanted, it can be bought through fundraiser money or requested from the Booster Club. I cut one of the javelins from their budget because while it is necessary for the practice of certain events and competing on meet days, one javelin will be replaced this year, and at the conclusion of the season, the javelins will be reassessed to see if another needs to be purchased. I cut the ladder from the budget because with the high cost of uniforms, money needed to be cut from the budget somewhere. Although ladders are useful for practice, they are not necessary to the sport of track. If ladders are wanted, the team can hold a fundraiser or request them from the Booster Club. I also cut the pit rake from the budget because the pit rake is in okay condition, and with the high cost of uniforms, it is not in the budget to replace it. This can be reassessed at the end of the season. I kept the scorebook because it will allow for correct statistics to be kept throughout the season, but I cut the shelter because while it would be nice to have one, it's not necessary to the sport of track, and it can be fundraised for or requested through the Booster Club. I kept the shorts and the singlets because they are needed to look unified and to run track in a school league, but I cut the shot puts as they are still in good condition, and at the conclusion of the season, this can be reassessed and they can be seen if they need to be replaced. I kept the stopwatch that was asked for because this will allow for coaches to record times during practice and keep time during meets. So the total savings for the track team was $1,238.90, which brought the original budget of $4,452.86 down to $3,213.96. I also had to make some hefty cuts from boys volleyball. I kept the away jerseys because they are needed to look unified and to play volleyball in a school league. But I cut the ball cart down from 2 to 1 because with the amount of balls needed for the volleyball team, one ball cart should hold the full quantity. I cut the amount of floor tape in half because since there are already lines on the court, the floor tape cutting in half not only saves money, but allows for the players and coaches to use the lines that are already present. I kept all of the game balls because they are needed in order to compete during a season with school conferences, And I kept the game uniform shorts and home jerseys because they are needed to look unified and to play volleyball in a school league. I cut the net system because the net does not yet need to be replaced, and it can be reassessed at the end of the season to see if this has changed. I kept all of the practice balls as they are necessary to conduct practice and work on the skills of the game, but I cut the referee stand as the volleyball team already has one and it does not need to be replaced yet. I did cut shoes as well because volleyball players will already have a shoe and a style and brand that they prefer, and if they do not, they can be purchased by the players. I cut the warm-up pants from the budget because volleyball is played indoors and usually during warmer fall months, at least where I live. So if pants are wanted, they can be bought with money from a fundraiser or requested from the booster club. I did keep the warm-up pullover as it will allow for the players' arms to stay warm prior to the game and look uniform while doing so. The cuts totaled $4,910.85, which cut the original cost of $6,734.07 down to $1,823.22. Girls volleyball totaled just a little over $3,000, and I was able to cut that down to $1,439.89. I cut the net from their budget because it doesn't need to be replaced this year as it is still in working condition, and this can be reassessed at the end of the season to see if it needs to be then. I also cut shoes from the budget, and this was a pretty big portion of their budget because volleyball players will already have shoes in a style and brand that they prefer. If they don't, they can purchase a pair that they like, and this will ensure fit and comfortability. I cut 5 of the volleyballs out as it's necessary to conduct practice and work on the skills of the game with volleyballs, but they don't all need to be replaced every year. With the purchase of 10 instead of 15, the old ones can be replaced and then the rest can be reassessed at the end of the season. I kept the volleyball cart as this will keep all of the balls in one place and allow for easy cleanup, and I kept the uniforms as they are needed to look unified and to play volleyball in a school league. Water polo was next on the list, and I cut one of their blowhorns out as one blowhorn should last through the season. And if more need to be bought, they can be bought using fundraiser money or requested from the booster club. I also cut one of the cages out as one cage should be big enough to hold all of the supplies that the water polo team has. I cut out 2 of the CPR and first aid units because since the school will already have one of these on hand, the purchase of a new unit each year will allow for safety goals to be met, but also allow to save money on the budget. I kept the dry pack backpacks because this will allow for players to keep equipment in one place, keep it dry, and to look uniform. I kept the jackets because they are needed to keep players warm before competition and to prevent injury. I cut the long sleeve shirts because they were not only expensive, but the players will already have short sleeve shirts and jackets. If they want a long sleeve, they can buy this through a fundraiser or through the booster club. I cut the megaphone because the team already has one and it does not need to be replaced every year. This can be reassessed at the end of the season. I cut one of the pumps out because one working pump is enough for the amount of balls the water polo team will have. I did keep the scoreboard as it will allow coaches and players to easily know the score and the time left, while also allowing the spectators to keep up with the fast-paced game. I cut the amount of short sleeve shirts down from 46 to 26 as there are rarely 46 players on a water polo team, so 26 shirts to cover the amount of players and allow for the team to look uniform. I kept sweatpants since water polo takes place in a pool and it is easy for the players to become cold when stepping out. Having sweatpants will not only help the players stay warm, but to cover up their swimsuit when they are no longer in the pool. I cut swim caps from the budget as players will already have ones of a certain brand and fit that they prefer. And because of this, if they do not already have a cap, they will be able to buy one that will ensure fit and comfortability. I kept swimsuits because they are needed to look unified and to play water polo in a school league. I did cut the swim parkas because they were exceedingly expensive, and while it does provide extra warmth, the players already have jackets. So if they want to purchase this item, it will need to be done through a fundraiser. I cut travel polos as most high schools do not provide travel gear for their water polo team, and if the coach wants the player to look unified on the ride to the competing school, the players can wear the short sleeve shirts and jackets. I kept all of the water polo mini balls and all of the training balls because they will allow for players to develop technique and increase their skill in water polo. I did cut the amount of regular balls down from 20 to 10 because this will still allow for them to develop techniques and skills, but because of the high cost of uniforms, the budget cut needed to be cut somewhere. With the cuts, I totaled $9,251, which brought the $15,000 budget down to $5,866. For wrestling, I cut the small, medium, and large dummy because in the schools that I've both attended and coached, I've never seen the use of dummies. I think it's better to practice against a teammate in order to develop skills that can be used during a meet and to know what it will be like to wrestle another person. I kept the gear bags because this will allow for players to keep equipment in one place and to look uniform, but I cut hair slicker because if a player has long hair, this item will need to be purchased by the player as there is no guarantee that this is an item that will be needed. I also cut headgear as wrestlers will already have headgear that they prefer due to brand and fit, and because of this, the players that need gear will purchase it on their own to ensure fit and comfortability. I cut the mat cleaner, mat mop, and replacement heads because this item will already be present within the janitorial staff's supplies. I kept mat tape because this will help keep the mat in place and also mark off boundary lines. I cut the amount of scorebooks down from 4 to 2 because they fill up relatively slowly, and due to the small number of wrestlers on a team, 2 should be fine for the season. I kept shirts and shorts because it will allow for players to still look uniform when covering up after their meet and to stay warm and modest. But I did cut shoes because they will already have a brand and style that they prefer, so the school does not need to purchase these. And players that don't have shoes will be able to purchase ones that ensure fit and comfortability. I cut shower soap because for sanitation purposes, this will need to be bought by the player and kept in their locker or bag. And lastly, for wrestling, I kept singlets because these were needed to look unified and to wrestle in a school league, but I cut socks as players can provide their own socks as everyone prefers a different cut or style, and they will need to have socks that they feel comfortable enough to compete in. I kept the warm-ups because this will allow for players to stay warm before their meet in order to prevent injury, but I cut the wrestling mat as it does not yet need to be replaced. This can be reassessed at the end of the season. The cuts that I made to wrestling totaled $15,865.74, which brought the $20,000 budget down to $4,349.97. After making cuts to the program, I was able to zero the budget out at $92,000, which kept the athletic program in budget while also giving the teams what they needed.